What's going on, guys? Ted from Immersion here, and I am back with some more Dungeon Master Guild Spotlight and review videos. So I have a bunch of these to do coming up, and most of these were thankfully provided by the creators for my review purposes. But first up on our list is Truly Madly Deeply Module 3, Heaven is a Place on Faerun. Obviously, a lot of cool song lyric and song themed things, and the adventure is pretty solid. So if you want to see a little bit more, stay tuned. Alright, so here we have it on the DM's Guild, and you can see right here it is $2.49 to pick up a copy of this. So again, to get a couple things out of the way, one, I'm not going to go through the entire document page for page, reading the entire thing. One, that would take a while, and two, that could potentially discourage you from picking up a copy for yourself, and while I don't want to do that, I want to still provide a decent overview of the module and give you an idea of what you're looking at. So here you can see it has 2 ratings. It's listed as 4 stars. It is designed for 4 third-level PCs and estimated to take a total of 6 hours to complete. So this could potentially be a 3-session thing, right? If you guys play for 2 hours consistently. And it is module 3 of an existing set of modules. I was only provided module 3 to do a review on. If you guys are interested to see reviews of the other things that led up to the events that are happening in this module, let me know. I will reach out to the creator from NonZero Sum Games and see if they want to provide the other ones, and we can go from there. They also have made several other things. If I scroll over here on the DM's Guild, you can see here are the other modules in here, and then there's also Good Hits and Bad Misses, which is basically an expansion of damage types and things like that. But if you guys are curious on that, maybe we'll add that to a future video. So again, the first one is Truly Madly Deeply, and it's a Savage Garden all around me. So right there, Savage Garden, the band, made a song all around me. And then we have Homicide Knock You Out, right? So some LL Cool J here. And then we have Heaven is a Place on Earth, Faerun, Belinda Carlisle. I'm sure there's also other things I'm missing in some of the NPC names. Like I did notice that there's a section in here called Hungry Like the Wolf, right? So it's a Duran Duran song. And there's a character named Duran. So there's probably other references just if you read out the names of the NPCs. I'm assuming that I just missed on my first read through. But again, obviously if you're a fan of what I would consider good music for the most part, especially everything contained in this module, naming convention wise, that's fun little Easter eggs for you. So that's pretty cool. All right, so that's enough of this. Let's dive into the module itself. First of all, some really cool artwork right here on the front. Right, we got some giant insects and you know, a titular villain. I don't know why I said titular. Their name's not in the title. I'm an idiot. But your main villain right here on the front cover. So it is split up into 3 kind of parts. And again, having not read the other ones, I don't really know what led up to it, but I can kind of posit what happened. So it is, so it's NonZero Sum Games, or NZS Games, is the kind of group responsible for this. I will say, and maybe this is just my copy, I don't know, but I can't seem to get any of these PDF links to work. I've tried a couple different things, different settings in Adobe to try to get these holding Control and Alt and Shift and everything, and I can't get any of these links to work. Maybe that's just me being an Adobe noob for this. I don't feel like it is. But either way, I can't get any of the links to work, which is unfortunate because there are some links I was actually trying to click and I couldn't get them to activate. Perhaps if I go with the print-friendly version, I would have been able to get that. And I believe they also can download the maps as a zip file as well. All right. So, basically, I'll give you sort of an overview of everything, and we'll stop off on separate parts as we go through. your group in kind of what's happening in this scenario is you are basically Greenhorn Harper agents. For those of you unfamiliar with the Harpers, this is obviously set in Faerun with the title like Heaven is a Place on Faerun. So it is set, at least seems primarily in this particular module, around the area of Berdusk on the Sword Coast. And you are Harper agents, or fledgling Harper agents. The Harpers are one of the 5 major factions of Faerun, and they are sort of like the good guys. They're the direct counter, I guess they have the direct counter to the Zentarum, who are sort of like the evil mafia people. And these are kind of, they're like a spy network of all around good people who are trying to do things and gather information, potentially secretively, for the betterment of the realms as a general rule. So you guys are fledgling Harper agents, and you're sort of being sent out on missions as such. So we scroll down. Basically, you're going to do this mission, excuse me, sorry for the cough. This intro mission, and that will get you enough renown, which is a currency that seems like it's kind of, it existed in the beginning of 5th edition, and it does technically still exist, but was primarily designed for Adventure League play. And it basically, renown in the faction increases your rank, and as such, 1, gives you a higher standing and kind of, again, renown. But it also had mechanical benefits in Adventurers League. I don't know if it technically does outside of that. That's really up to the Dungeon Master. But if you complete basically your mission, you will become rank 1, which is called a Watcher. So you become a Watcher in the Harpers, which is a good thing. It makes you more formalized. I think you get an insignia and a couple other things. But basically, you are kind of meeting your contact here, who is Adoward, A-D-O-W-A-R-D. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Axe Eager, who is a dwarf. I'm just going to call him Ward, because his name will come up a couple times. So Ward here, the dwarf, he sends you on basically a mission to go to a town called Heaven, right? Name of the module, Heaven, place on Faerun. It's a small mining town. And basically bad stuff's going on, and something's happening. And your mission as fledgling Harper agents is to go to the town of Heaven and figure out what's going on. And, you know, do investigations and resolve the problem, assuming that you discover there is one. Spoiler alert, there's going to be one. And then you obviously, there is actually a lot of good stuff in this module about role-playing and different NPC characters with different stories and the way to deal with it, and a lot of really cool social encounters. There is obviously combat encounters, as most, you wouldn't really have a D&D module without a degree of combat, but there is a fair amount of really cool social encounters. So again, as something that I'll tell you guys as someone who runs a homebrew game and a lot of other games, you don't obviously have to take this module and play it as written. You obviously can as a one-shot or as a part of your adventure, but you could drag and drop this into your campaign, tweak the locations, maybe tweak the play, you know, the NPC names, maybe there is no Harper organization, but it's just an NPC who your players are working with. But Heaven could be just a town called something else in your world with the same NPCs and the taverns and whatever else. So keep that in mind whenever I do any of these reviews, that don't get excuse me, don't get so locked in to the module in the sake of it being a module, right? Like, it can be used in your own game. You just need to adapt it. And again, to you veteran folks out there, I'm not really talking to you guys who've been running games for years, but we do have a lot of new folks in the 5th edition universe right now, a lot of people playing for the first time, and I just don't want you guys to feel like you get locked in if you don't like something, you don't like the name of an NPC, like I just changed his name to Ward because it was easier for me to say. That kind of stuff, do that. Drag, drop, alter, tweak as best you can to make it work in your world, or, you just don't use it at all. But this is a review of this module, so obviously I'm going to kind of want you to do that because I'm reviewing it. All right. So Ward's gonna meet you in heaven in 3 weeks' time. Get there and go figure it out. That's your intro. So part 1 is basically the travel to the city, right? You're gonna be on the road for a little while, and you're gonna encounter some cool folks along the way, and that kind of sets the stage for part 1. So I don't really want to dive too deeply into what's going on with part 1, because it kind of has a cool mystery whodunit sort of scenario, and I don't want to spoil that for anybody, but I do like it, and it's pretty interesting. So let's see if I can highlight some stuff without giving too much away. So you're gonna meet here you go, hungry like the wolf, right? You're gonna meet your guide who's gonna take you there. And here are the list of NPCs that you'll encounter along the way. Another part that I had a potential problem with. So remember I told you I couldn't get any of the links to take me anywhere? Again, perhaps that's just my fault, but it says this one character, her journal is a tome of witchcraft, and it says check D&D Beyond for more information. Okay, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's go here. D&D Beyond. You can see I searched for just the word tome. Witchcraft doesn't come up. So maybe I can just search witchcraft, and that'll get it to come up. Witchcraft. Nope. I can't find the Tome of Witchcraft anywhere on D&D Beyond. We'll give it one more check under Homebrew Magic Items and see if it's here. Oh, it is. Okay. So, point of fact, you can't just search Tome of Witchcraft. You have to go into the Homebrew section of items on D&D Beyond to see this. Presumably, if the link works for you, it'll take you here. Well, let's take a read through this, shall we? Legendary magic item that takes a full moon cycle to become attuned to. It lets this tome lets a multi-class wizard druid, witch, learn/create a spell, ritual, or alchemy item, potion, poisons, etc., of their choice for free of their current level once per full moon cycle, or when certain items and/or ingredients are gathered/obtained to learn/create spell, ritual, or alchemy item per DM. Oh man, that's a mouthful, and that is a lot to. There's a lot of specifics there, but it's legendary, and it is specific that you need to multi-class both druid and wizard, which means at least 13 intelligence and wisdom. So that's an interesting combo. Excuse me. Back to the module. So as you can see here, without giving too much away, see the tables on the different mornings. Charisma, perception, nature checks to determine kind of what's going on, and they scale throughout. And you can see all the bold stuff, right? Different skill checks and things. And here's some more, right? Generating clues, figuring out difficulties. Here we got a little map here as well. And then here's kind of some of the items that can be generated, right? Dust of Disappearance, Oil of Slipperiness, and a handful of potions. So that's part 1, right? So this kind of whodunit road travel adventure with a bunch of interesting characters and this Tome of Witchcraft. Part 2 is you actually make it to the town of Heaven. So now you're trying to figure out what's going on. You heard from Ward, we need to figure something out, bad stuff's happening. So this is sort of your town exploration, more social encounters. Let's determine what the problem is. So you can see you've got a couple of interesting and very well developed NPCs here in the town of Heaven, and here is the sort of the layout on this little mini map here. Talking to the different NPCs gives you different outcomes and maybe more information, and then eventually you will and I should say that there's potential to gain gold or barter down a bunch of people on different things as well. Eventually, you get through information in the town that you need to go out into the woods. A strange house or cottage was spotted by some folks coming back from the mines. And there's supposedly someone over there, and that's kind of the only, like, not, people aren't really sure about that. You kind of follow along, put the clues together. This is where the bad stuff is probably happening. This is something to investigate. So, you travel for a couple days to make it to this domicile, right? And you can see there's obviously different things you can do to check and scout around the area, and we can see there actually is a map here, right? It's a dungeon in and of that has different rooms with different abilities. So I'm not going to go through all of the little nuances of the dungeon, but there are some really cool encounters, right? Animated armor, cockatrice, great for low-level people to run into. There's a gray ooze as well. Some interesting, cool combat scenarios for your party to interact with, or possibly avoid, depending on how they handle it. And then, which I thought was interesting, is there's an apparatus of the crab. Again, the links don't work, but for those of you who don't know, an apparatus of the crab is an apparatus of Qualish. It's just the generic title. So, like, if you don't own the thing on D&D Beyond, you technically can't use Qualish, right? Because it's I think it's a TSR, possibly owned thing. So it has to be officially licensed D&D stuff to use, like, apparatus of Qualish or Tensor's floating disc or Mordenkainen's this. That's why you'll see on D&D Beyond, you'll see a lot of things like Hideous Laughter instead of Tasha's Hideous Laughter, or Irresistible Dance instead of Otto's Irresistible Dance, or Magnificent Mansion as opposed to Mordenkainen's Magnificent, and so on, because those are, like, licensed material. So apparatus of the crab is an apparatus of Qualish. So that's a cool thing that's there. And essentially, you're going to get into a fight and a showdown with the main villain we saw in the front, who is a wizard, who has some pretty nasty magic. You guys are 3rd level characters at this point. So, I mean, a fireball is pretty rough. She's got counterspell, right? Between all this stuff, you could have a really tough final fight on your hands. So, a good adventure, I think. And then finally we get to our conclusion, and I'll just read you the epilogue, because I'm assuming there's a plan for a part 4, but I don't know. But let's read through it. All right, so obviously you can get your renown increase. As you rush to the bridge, you hear a battle cry and then the unmistakable sound of crunching bones. You approach the scene with no regard to stealth and see a shirtless Adaward standing over a dead female drow. He is clearly wounded and winded. When he sees you, he scolds you while stepping over the body towards you. What in the name of Moradin have you lot stirred up? Why the blazes are assassins milling around a nothing town like heaven? Suddenly, his eyes go wide with fear, and he shouts for you to get down. Without thinking, you drop prone. Just as you do, you see a rock, the massive bird in the Dungeons & Dragons world, swoop down and grab him and immediately soar off with him. In the frenzy, he drops his hammer. You watch helplessly as the rock carries him away to the north. Clearly, your lives as Harpers will leave little time for leisure. So that, friends, is not Stellany's case. That is Heaven is a Place on Faerun by NonZero Sum Games. It seems like a fun, interesting encounter and series of encounters with cool, small town, intrigue, figuring out what's going on in the town, a whodunit mystery scenario, and a cool showdown in a dungeon with a crazy wizard lady, and then, a rock kidnaps your contact, and he's fighting off drow. I'm curious if one of the earlier modules we learned what his hammer is. That's, like, significant. You can maybe pick it up and have it as a hammer while you go to try to figure out what's going on. As of right now, this is currently the 3rd in the series, and it was only published in October of last year. So there may be a plan for a 4th part that continues the story, or maybe just left open-ended like that so that you can take and adapt it yourself to figure out what happens to Ward and go off and deal with that. Or, again, be on the lookout for more information coming soon for a potential 4th installment in the adventure. There'll be a link in the description below if you'd like to go pick up a copy for yourself. And if you do, I would love it if you do decide to leave a review or a discussion question on the DM's Guild to just let the folks from NonZero Sum Games know that the reason you're there is because you read or listened to the review from Nerd Immersion, and that was what kind of sent you over there. So, anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Be on the lookout for, again, if I show you at the top here, where is it? Plenty more D&D DM's Guild reviews coming down the pipe in a little while. So, hope you guys are looking forward to this. I've also got some fun stuff coming as well. So, I will see you at the next review.